My first question I have for you is, have you ever applied for a grant? Let us know in the comments. Have you ever applied for a grant in the past? That is either a yes or a no. Have you ever applied for a grant? And so the beautiful thing about today is that if your answer is yes or no, we're going to be applying for some grants together today. So it's one thing to hear some content, is something different to do something with the information that you're receiving. So again, today, we're going to actually be applying for some grant funding opportunities today, which is really exciting. So we're talking about mastering grant writing, positioning your business for funding and for funding success. Of course, this information is copywritten and it's for you and for you only. I don't want to see it on TikTok Live. Thank you very much. And so I have a couple of objectives for today. Of course, the first thing is creating your grant funding system. So we're going to build your system today so that you'll be able to apply the content once it's over. We're going to be talking about understanding the grant landscape. We're going to talk about the grant application process. We're also going to be talking about technology. I am the queen of artificial intelligence. And so I want to introduce you to some AI tools that you can use that will support you with this grant funding journey. And then, of course, you will have some homework that you're going to work on that will prepare you for, again, getting access to some grant funding dollars. And of course, Coach Dunbar did a great job of introducing myself. And I've been an entrepreneur for over 30 years. Can you believe that? I know I don't look like it, but 30 years. And so I'm also a philanthropist. I'm an investor. I do invest in small businesses, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 cash infusion. I make sure that I coach them through the process of how to use the investment to make more money. And of course, best-selling author, I have 20 books that I've published, grant writer, grant consultant, and then I also am the owner of the Music City Icons, which is a semi-professional women's basketball team in Nashville, Tennessee, and we are a feeder to the WNBA, then international teams as well. I have 9 players that have gotten contracts to play overseas. So, I teach them about financial literacy, but I also want them to be good stewards once their basketball career is over. And then I have 2 amazing children, and both of them, interestingly, are college graduates, but they also are entrepreneurs. And I asked my son the other day, I said, do you feel like, you getting your degree was a waste of time? He's like, absolutely not, because he was able to take some business classes, but it was also about the environment and teaching him how to be the amazing man that he is today. And so the other thing is I also had the awesome opportunity to serve in the United States Navy as a telecommunications operator. And so I really played NATO basketball, professional basketball for the Navy until Desert Storm happened. And they was like, Renee, you got to take off your sneakers and you really have to serve. I was like, I didn't come in the military for that. I came in to play ball. But anyway, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because when we're going through the grant funding process, I need for you to take a holistic approach to getting access to funding. So I tap into grants being a minority, being a woman, being a veteran, being a disabled veteran. Then I do my industry. Then I do my geographical location. So I want you to start thinking about all that you are as a business owner, as a woman entrepreneur, because that's going to help you as we're going through this grant funding journey. And so this is one of my books that recently became an Amazon bestseller, and it is a Thrive in 2025. So you don't have to get your copy today because 2 of you are going to win a copy of the book today, which is going to be really, really exciting. Also known as the book publishing lady. So I'm going to encourage each one of you, Coach Hall, you included, that you should think about writing, marketing, and publishing a book if you haven't already. The reason why I'm encouraging you to do that is for 3 specific reasons. Number 1, it is a great source of revenue. Number 2, it helps to establish yourself as an expert in your industry. And then number 3, it's a great way to get new customers. So if you're in a position where you can't speak to everybody, but they can get access to a book that can have your systems, that can have your processes, but also if you are serious about really getting access to grant funding, It's wonderful when you have products that you can build in to these grant applications that you're going to be filling out. And I'm going to give you some examples of that in a few minutes. And this is one of my top selling books, The Money Resource Guide. So we are actually doing the 4th edition now, and it's going to have over 200 different grant funding opportunities, but I'm also putting a lot of artificial intelligence information in it as well. And then also, you all should have gotten some of these tools in your toolkit. And so in the grant funding toolkit, we actually provide a list of grants, over 130 different grant funding opportunities. So every single month for the last 6 years, I've been doing this grant funding list to be able to teach people and provide specifically where to get grants. But guess what? Today, I'm going to be sharing with you some links on where I actually pull the information from. Then we also do a grant funding application answer key, which I'm going to encourage you all to do the same thing, right? So with the grant funding application answer key, it is all the answers that you're going to see when you're applying for grant funding. So we're not out here scrambling and trying to pull together resources and information. Your answer key is going to have all those answers that you need. I also shared with you all the grant funding budget. So let me know how many of you already have your budget completed for 2025, which means that you specifically know what you need money for as a business owner or as a nonprofit. And so I see some head shaking saying, no, I don't have it together. That's okay, because in your the portal, you're going to have the budget tool, so you could literally just start pulling together the items and the things that you need, because you're going to need to know specifically what you need money for as we are applying for some grant funding opportunities. Then I also give you a grant funding tracking form. So I had a client last year that won the Beyonce Bay Good grants. You guys know she gives away $10,000 every single year. More, she actually does it twice a year. And so this one client won the $10,000 Bay Good grants, and she had no idea that she won the funding because the award letter was sitting in her spam folder. They had to call her on the phone and say, you won the grant. That is not going to be our story, because what happens is, especially now, if you're using Gmail or if you're using Yahoo as an account, sometimes those emails do go to your spam folder. So now what we're doing is we're tracking every grant that you're going to apply for. So remember, today, we're going to be applying for a couple of grants, so you're going to need to use that tool in order to track. Then I also gave you the grant funding checklist, and then also the Thrive in 2025 financial planner, and then also a blank application from the KFC grant application, because what it is not only the questions for the grant, it's also how to answer those questions. So the toolkit is robust, as you can see, and what we've done is kind of taken what are the needs that most people have, business owners have, when it comes to getting access to some grant funding dollars. So all we do is win, win, win. That is my theme song. My clients have won over $2.3 million in grant funding. How is that possible? So before I share with you the system, I want to celebrate a couple of the winners that have just recently won some funding. So congratulations to Rebecca. She actually did a pitch competition, and she ended up winning $30,000 in 3 minutes from a pitch competition, and we'll talk more about that as well. And then also Comcast Rise winner, please make a note that when the Comcast Rise application opens up, please promise me that you will apply for that opportunity. I would say that 75% of the clients that I work with, they win this grant. It's a $10,000 grant. It also comes with computers and tablets, and then they even give you a commercial. And so the other hat that I wear is that I am actually a consultant with the Comcast Rise grant. So 500 entrepreneurs won the Comcast Rise grant. And so I have 75 of those clients that I'm doing coaching with that have won those funds, to make sure they're a good steward over those funds. So this is Lakeisha, and she's a speech therapist in Atlanta, Georgia, and she won the Comcast Rise grant. Congratulations to Holly that won the workshop at Macy's. So if any of you are selling any type of retail product, can I encourage you to check out the workshop at Macy's grant? So it is a grant, a $25,000 grant if you are selected for the program. Then they also take you through a 12-week program where you're getting coaching, you're getting mentorship. Like, they put so much support around you to ensure you're going to be a successful entrepreneur. So hear me loud and clear. In 2025, we are getting off the island of doing everything by ourselves. We're not doing that anymore because it's not necessary. There are so many resources that you can tap into that can support you through this entrepreneur journey. So once you get accepted to the workshop, the Macy's workshop, you get the grant funding, you get the coaching, the training, the mentorship, then you have another opportunity to pitch your business and get some additional funding. And how many of you knew that Macy's has their own bank? They have their own financial institution, which makes sense. So now they have access to funds to put around entrepreneurs that are in the retail space. And so if you haven't gone to Macy's website, you'll be shocked because they buy a lot of different things, including journals and candles. So I have coaches that have products that support what they're doing, and then they actually sell them through the workshop at Macy's. And then congratulations to Pamela James. She actually won the $5,000 grant from Hello Alice. So a lot of people think that Hello Alice is just an information grab. And that's why I'm so glad that she won this Creative Business Boost Initiative $5,000 grant, right? And so we want to say congratulations to all the grant winners that have recently won some funding. Now, my ultimate goal for today is that we need to build a system. It's system for funding, system for growing your business. But what a system is, it saves yourself time, energy, and money. And if you can master and create a system as a business owner, as a coach, it will take you to the next level. So my goal today for my particular presentation is, how do I help you to build a system that's going to save you time, energy, and of course, the money? And so let's talk about some of these myths that are out here when it comes to getting access to grant funding. Number one, grants are not going anywhere. I know you see what's happening with the federal grant funding, but what's interesting is every single leader, like your president, he shifts his focus to other areas. And so what we have to do as a business owner, we have to look at what are those areas where the funding is going, and then how do you position yourself in order to get access to those funds instead of focusing on what's going away. And so where is the money going? Mental health, youth programs, AI, health and wellness, right? Because that is the focus. Even remember when President Obama was in office, he had this program called the stimulus program. And the stimulus program was geared towards business owners and individuals that were having financial issues. And if you have financial issues, you can go to the Financial Empowerment Center and you can get support. So that was his focus. So again, as a business owner, how do you tune out all the stuff that you're hearing on the news and put your energy towards where is the land most abundant? So I would love for you to write that in your notes as a homework assignment, that you're going to take some time to start thinking, where is the land most abundant? And then how do I position myself to get access to those particular funds? The beautiful thing about grant funding is that you don't have to pay the money back. And so but you do have to pay the money back if you don't spend the money, right? And if you're not a good steward over those funds. So I don't want you to worry about that, because most of the people that I talk to as they go through this training, we create a system to ensure we spend every penny. You also don't have to be a minority to get access to grant funding. There's grants out there for all kinds of individuals. You also don't have to be in business for 15 and 20 years to get access to grants. There's some grants out there that are specifically for startups. But you have to be clear about your vision, your mission, and your goal, right? That has to be clear. But there are startup grants that are out there for businesses and nonprofits. You also don't have to pay a fee to get access to some of the best grants, because I'm going to share with you some websites that you can go to in order to get access to some of the amazing grant funding dollars that are out there. And then you don't have to be pouring on the struggle bus. Oh my goodness, this has to be the biggest myth that I hear out there, that you got to be real poor and destitute in order to get access to funding. You don't have to be poor and struggling, but you have to have a need. So what is the need that you have in your business right now? And that should be listed on your budget. What financial need do you have right now? Are you paying yourself as a business owner? If not, that's a need, and we need to start looking to get access to grant funding that will be operational money that you can use in order to be able to pay yourself. It takes hours upon hours upon hours to apply for grant funding, not with AI. Not with AI. How many of you are using artificial intelligence? Let me know. How many? Excellent. Yay. Good deal, good deal, good deal. That makes me very happy. So there's a system and a process of how to use AI that will help you to streamline the grant funding process, right? And then you don't have to be a nonprofit agency to get access to grant funding. There's grants out there for nonprofits, grants out there for for-profits. So every business that I own is a for-profit business, but I also get access to nonprofit grants. And I can't wait to tell you how I actually do that strategy. And then also, most importantly, just because you apply, there's no guarantee that you're going to win. Just because you apply, you can have the best application out there. You could be the best thing since sliced bread, but there's no guarantee that you're going to win, but you still want to put forth the best application possible. So again, if you guys have any questions, make sure you put them in the comments, because I am going to make sure I take time to answer any questions that you have. Have you ever gone to grants.gov? And so grants.gov could be so overwhelming. And so if you're brand new to grants, I only suggest going to grants.gov specifically for research. But once you become familiar and you start applying for grants more often, then grants.gov is a great place to go, where you can get access to those 6 figures and 7-figure opportunities. But according to grants.gov, a grant is simply the way the government, corporations, businesses, the way that they fund your idea that has to be something that's going to stimulate the economy. So what do you do that stimulates the economy as a business owner, right? What do you do that stimulates the economy as a business owner? And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. I love this quote by Oprah. Don't worry about being successful, but work towards being significant, and success will naturally follow. So my other question to you is, have you had a chance to take a step back and identify what is that thing about you that makes you so significant in the marketplace? Once you identify those things, that's the core information that needs to be put in your grant funding application, right? And so this is kind of the process. So number one, I need for you to get clear about, why are you applying for grant funding? Do you need money for marketing, advertising, hiring staff? You need a virtual assistant? You need to hire an attorney, a bookkeeper? You need equipment, you need supplies, you need just startup money. So you get clear about why you specifically need grant funding. As a business owner, do you know what type of value do you create for your customers? That's either a yes or a no. If you want to build a multi-million dollar company, identify the value that you create for people. Also, identify the problem that your customers are having, and then you be the solution to that problem. And then, of course, every grant application wants to know about the impact. How do you have impact? as a business owner. Nobody is giving funding to anybody that's not having impact. So even as a business owner, when we're working with our clients, right, and our customers, we always think about what kind of value can I create? What kind of problem can I solve? And then what kind of impact can I have on those that I'm servicing? You want to win grant funding, you want to get access to other funding, answer these 4 questions, and you'll begin to see how things will change for you financially. Then the next step is not all grants are federally funded. So that's what I'm saying. Like when the government was having their shifts and their changes, I received so many phone calls from people panicking. And the government is just one bucket. It may be the biggest bucket, but it's just one bucket. There are so many different buckets of funding that you can tap into. So your goal for today is for you to pick one. And that one bucket is the bucket that you're going to put the energy on, and you're going to start looking for funding. You don't have to do them all. So of course you have your city, your state, your county, your local government grants, right, that are in your own backyard. Then you have corporations that have grants. So you have your big banks that have grants, like we won the Wells Fargo grant. We even won the Wachovia grant. JP Morgan and Chase has grants. So everything that you use, your grocery stores that you shop at. So this is my motto for all my clients. Wherever you spend money, get your money back by going to their website and seeing what kind of grant funding they have available. Wherever you spend money, go to those websites and see what kind of funding they have available. Then your community and private foundations. These are these entities that have a bunch of funding. And Bill and Melinda Gates, they are the biggest philanthropists that give away the most money to entrepreneurs and nonprofit agencies. So private foundations could be a great bucket for you to tap into. So if you decide to go with community and private foundations, can I encourage you to look at the community foundations that are in your city, in your state, and in your county? Also, colleges and universities, and I'm not talking about college and universities as far as you getting funding to go to school. I'm talking about the abundance of colleges and universities that receive funding to support the entrepreneurs that are in their community. So if you are in a city where there's a lot of colleges and universities, can I encourage you to go to their entrepreneur department on their website and see what kind of funding do they have to support local entrepreneurs? And of course, small business owners, I'm talking about and I'm going to use this as an example as far as small business owners. Do you know that PayPal has a grant? Did you know that Venmo has a grant? Did you know that Stripe has a grant? Did you know that TikTok has a grant? Did you know that Facebook has a grant? Did you know that Instagram has a grant? So it's like, did you know that QuickBooks has a grant? Do you know that FedEx has a grant? So as a business owner, all these different things that you're using, they have funds that are available, and I consider them the small business owners that actually create funds in order to support business owners. And then, of course, the secret sauce, the bucket that I feel is the most abundant that most people don't tap into is nonprofit agencies. And so what do I mean by nonprofit agencies? And I'm going to give you an example. So the United Way receives funding. And then what they do is that they take those millions of dollars and they re-grant those funds to local nonprofits that are in the community. Then those nonprofits turn around and guess what they do? They fund entrepreneurs. So Coach Dunbar talked about earlier me moving to Charlotte is because I have one of the largest contracts with the United Way in Charlotte, and they contract me to come in to teach how to diversify revenue, how to get access to multi-year grant funding opportunities, how to use artificial intelligence for systems and processes. So you see, all that I do as a business owner, I look to tap into these entities in order to get access to funding. So my question to you today is, when you look at this list, where are you going to put your energy? Is it number one, state, local government? Number two, corporations? Number three, community private foundations? Number four, college universities? Number five, small business? Or number six, nonprofits? Put the number in the chat. Let me know where you're going to put your energy moving forward. So are you surprised that there's so many different buckets of funding? And so it looks like you all have put your numbers in of, where, you're going to put your energy. And so if I was a business owner just starting out, I typically would start with the small business, because they're typically like, we're going to do a couple grants today, but they're typically a little bit easier to get access to. And then my next bucket would be the corporations. Then my next bucket would be nonprofits. Then my next bucket will be the government entities. Perfect. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And so let's move on to step number 3. So not all grants are the same. Like, how many of you really enjoy doing pitch competitions? And I'm not talking, well, I'm kind of talking about the ones like Shark Tank, but I'm not. And so do you know that in your geographical area, in your city, in your state, they have a bunch of pitch competitions going on right now, where you stand up and you share what it is that you do, and the person that has the best pitch competition, the person that's able to really demonstrate how their business is going to make money, how they actually are going to use these pitch competition dollars in order to be able to scale what they're doing, they're the ones that actually end up winning those funds. And so the other hat that I wear is as a judge of people that are doing pitch competitions. And so the thing that Renee Bobb loves about pitch competitions, I want you to fall in love with it too, is that there's no such thing as losing a pitch competition, even if you don't win the money. Because number one, the exposure that you get from standing up there and sharing about what you do is such a benefit. The second thing is, if you do win the pitch competition, typically they give you the check on the spot. And some of you that may be familiar with the EYL, they actually had their Earn Your Leisure had their event, and they actually had a pitch competition. Do you know somebody walked out of there with $100,000 just by pitching what they do, just by talking about what they do? And so if you are somebody that's interested in getting into pitch competitions, you can go to YouTube University and start watching people that have done great pitches. You can check with your local college and university to see if they have some training classes that you can take. Toastmasters is a great place to go, the National Speakers Association, but you don't have to be the perfect person speaking in order to win pitch competitions. It's about your product. It's about your service. It's also about, again, how are you going to have impact when you win those pitch dollars? The second option that we have is accelerator programs. And even though I've been in business for a very long time, I still do accelerator programs because I always have something that I want to learn. So what an accelerator program is, it's a program where not only do you get access to grant funding, but they also give you support as far as mentorship, coaching, and a lot of them will have like a 12-week program, 8-week program, 3-week program, where it's training and development to help you be the best business owner that you can be. Also, the next option is your business plan competitions, where you submit your business plan, it goes before judges, they review the business plan, and the person that has the best business plan is the one that actually wins those funds. The fifth option is stipend award. So to me, a stipend award is just another name for a grant. So if you are following me on TikTok under Resourceful Renee, I just did a video the other day about a $5,000 grant for those of you that are writers, those of you that are film producers, or you want to do a documentary. And it's specifically for a library department in Paris, where you can win a $5,000 grant and you get to go to Paris and work on your gifts, your talents, and your skills. There's all kinds of different grants. And so with this particular one, Stipend Award, that's what it is. It takes care of all your expenses when you go to Paris to work on what you're really good at. The other option is crowdfunding. Have any of you ever done a crowdfunding before? I know you guys hear about Indiegogo. Well, GoFundMe is one of the most popular. But crowdfunding platforms also have grant funding opportunities that are available, right? And so it could be a possibility that Kickstarters, Indiegogo, iFund Women, GoFundMe, that you do a crowdfunding campaign and that platform also gives you access to grant funding. And then last and most importantly, my favorite is project grants. And so a project grant is, let's say that you would love to coach and train some individuals, but these individuals don't have access to funding. You build out the project of everything that you're going to do, and then you go get grant funding to support the project, which allows the individuals to come for free. Make sense? So Netta, it seems like you're shaking your head. You've experienced that before. You know about that?
That's actually this exact type of funding that I need is the project grants. And for the services that I want to provide, I've done it for so many years for free, but at this point, I need to be funded for it. And the grant fund, I'm sorry, a project grant would be ideal to bring in the population that I want to reach who cannot afford my services. So this purpose,
Excellent.
yes.
And so you're gonna like this. And so when I was living in Virginia, there were so many women that wanted to use my services, but they couldn't afford it. So what I ended up doing was partnering with the local Women's Business Center, and we went to Wachovia Bank. Y'all remember Wachovia Bank? We went to Wachovia Bank, and they gave us a grant for $500,000. And guess where the bulk of the money went to? My speaking fee, my workbooks, my assessments, right? And then whenever we win grant funding that's over six figures, we will bring in a grant manager that can make sure that we're collecting all the data. So those project grants are phenomenal. And then I would love for you to make a commitment today that you are so valuable and what you do is so worthy. Can we not do it for free anymore? We got all the experience that we need. We got all the background that we need. Can we go ahead and charge a fee? And can
Yes,
I give you
ma'am.
another option? Because I see some amens and some head shaking. Can we also think about getting a sponsor? And a
Mhm.
sponsor is a corporation that will sponsor the work that you're doing. And let me give you a great example. And so, oh, I have so many good ones, but this is a good one. So, the Chicago Bulls, they actually have a program to support minority entrepreneurs that are in the Chicago market. So we found out that they have this initiative, put together a proposal, and they sponsored an 8-week entrepreneur program that was geared towards minority entrepreneurs in the Chicago market. It was $50,000 for 8 weeks. Come on now. Come on. And so I already had the speakers together, right? I already had the content together, and it was the speaking, it was the training books, and it was the assessments. And so that's how you can get a sponsor that can sponsor the amazing work that you're doing in the community so that the individuals don't have to pay a fee in order to get access. So your homework assignment for all of you that need access to funding, your homework assignment is to go and find you a sponsor. Now, what is in it for the Chicago Bulls? They get to shout from the mountaintop that they supported minority and women entrepreneurs. Yes.
Um, in that role, did you already have to be a 501c3? I am in the application process. I have a not-for-profit and had it for years. I wasn't 501c3. So I'm in the
Yeah.
process now. Can I go ahead and start applying, even though I'm still waiting on the
Yeah.
response from the IRS?
That is a great question. And so remember, every company that I own is a for-profit. I am not a nonprofit,
Oh,
but I still get
yeah.
access to the funds as a nonprofit. Do you want to know how?
How? Because I have a business too. So yes,
Strategic
how?
partnerships. Strategic
Strategic
partnerships.
partnership. Okay.
Strategic partnerships. Like I find nonprofits that do the same thing that I do, and I
Exactly.
become an
Exactly.
asset to them, not a competitor,
Mm-hmm.
but I become an asset to them, which means that I'm bringing them opportunity. And so why wouldn't they want to strategically partner with me? They're giving me their support. We're getting access to all the funding. I'm getting the funding to do what I do as a business owner. It makes sense. And that kind of goes back to the statement earlier that we have got to get off this island of doing all this stuff by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because there
Excellent.
are people out there that would love to partner with you, but be mindful that a partnership is like a marriage. So we want to make sure we're in partnership with the right people.
Absolutely. Equally yoked. Yes, ma'am.
Excellent, excellent. So to kind of bring this all together, these are just some of the many grants that I've been able to win over the years. Please promise me that you all are connected with your local SBA, sba.gov. They have support, they have resources, they have access to funding. And so we end up winning an SBA grant to go into the Tennessee Prison for Women and teach women that are incarcerated how to start their own business, career development, book publishing, and financial literacy. So everything that I do as a business owner, all we did was write that content into the grant and submit it, and then we end up winning those funds. Also, are you connected with your local SBDC, your local Small Business Development Center? So when I first started my journey 30 years ago, I went to the SBDC and I ended up winning a $25,000 grant. And so I have a client that just won the SBDC grant in Chicago also. So it's like $25,000, right? And so also the Hilton Hotel is the first grant that we ever won that was actually on a credit card, because most of the grants are going to come to you three different ways. Number one, they'll directly deposit the money into your business bank account. Number two, they'll mail you a check. Or number three, if it's a 6-figure or 7-figure grant, they have a repository where you have to log into and then transfer the funds to your business bank account. But whenever you win a grant, they will tell you how they're actually going to send you the funds, right? Then every woman on this live today should please be connected with iFund Women. So iFund Women is a crowdfunding platform, but they also have access to grant funding. So the picture that you see up top is a picture of the top 100 Black women entrepreneurs. So I won that grant. I'm the one in the red. It's the American Express top 100 Black women entrepreneurs, right? And so I won that grant by being in relationship with iFund Women. And so it doesn't matter about your background. It's for nonprofits, for-profit, business, all kinds of women. iFund Women is a great platform. So when I first purchased the basketball team, I didn't want to use my own money. So I decided to do a crowdfunding campaign on iFund Women. The goal was to raise $10,000 in 30 days. We raised over 360% of our goal. How do we do that? Because we also tapped into the grant funding opportunities that were available on iFund Women. So with the crowdfunding campaign, if you gave us $20, we gave you a shout out on social media. You gave us $50, we gave you a t-shirt. You gave us $100, we gave you a swag bag. So you see, for each level with the crowdfunding, you got something in return. So can you please promise me that you will check out iFund Women, get registered with them so you can get access to some of those funds? Then when I turned 50, I know y'all ain't think I was 50, but I'm over 50. I actually won the AARP grant. And so that you don't have to be over 50 to win the AARP grant. But that grant was specifically to train individuals that are over the age of 50 on how to be entrepreneurs. Remember, I'm only applying for grant funding that supports the things that I do as a business owner. But AARP already had their curriculum, and we just kind of went in and we actually did the facilitation. The biggest grant that we won is from the U.S. VA department. Again, you don't have to be a veteran to get access to this grant. It was $3.2 million over a 3-year period. I know, Gwendolyn, I know. And so let me tell you about this grant. So this grant was specifically to work with military veterans to teach them how to become a weatherization technician trainer. Gwendolyn, I am not a weatherization technician trainer, nor do I have a desire to be one. So we partnered with Tennessee State University because they had Dr. Inman. She had the curriculum. She's a weatherization guru. She had the book. We wrote her into the grant as a strategic partner. Then we partnered with a local business that does weatherization every single day, and we wrote them into the grant. Then we partnered with Fort Campbell Family Housing because they had an empty house. I was able to put the veterans on a van, take them to the house, so now they can do the hands-on training. And then Operation Stand Down is a nonprofit agency that have access to the veterans. So you see how all 5 of us came together, strategically partnered, and got access to the over $3 million over a 3-year period. Now I have my pink hard hat, I have my tool belt, but Renee Bobb ain't getting up on nobody's ladder. No way, no way. And it's not necessary when you have strategic partners. So my question to you all is, who would be an ideal strategic partner for you? Who would be an ideal strategic partner for you? So Bank of America had a $375,000 grant that had my name written on it. It was perfect for everything that I do, but they didn't want to give the money to a for-profit. They wanted to give it to a nonprofit. So I strategically partnered with Safe Haven Family Shelter, which is a local shelter that takes mom, dad, and children in, and we end up winning the $375,000. They got their piece to do what they do. I got my piece to do what I do. So you see, there's so many different ways that we can go about grant funding and getting access to funding for your particular business. And so you have 3 options, and today we need to pick one. And so option number 1 is you can apply for grants. Like you can literally, like we're gonna apply for grant today. So you literally can apply for grant funding. That's option number 1. You fill out the application, we apply for grants. Option number 2 is the most abundant. You find organizations that already have the money and you strategically partner with them. So you make a list of all those nonprofit agencies in your community that already have funding, and then you reach out to them and you be an asset. You provide something to them. You be a solution to the problem, kind of going back to the Oprah, the significance. You provide value, and then you get access to those funds. And then the third option is you bring opportunities to others, which means that you find the opportunities and then you take those opportunities to nonprofit agencies. So when you think about this list, do you have one that you want to start with? You don't have to do them all, even though as a business owner, when we're growing, we should really be incorporating all of these. Can I tell you why? Because some of you are saying that your sales are slow. It's impossible for your sales to be slow if you're incorporating some of these strategies. So now, instead of, and this is really a great model for diversification of revenue. So I'm applying for grant funding. I'm also strategically partnered with 3 and 4 different organizations. And then I'm also bringing opportunities to others. Does that make sense? So let me know in the chat, which one are we going to start with? Applying for grants, strategic partners, or you bring the opportunity to others? Very good. So you guys are on it. So let's go through the step-by-step process of the grant process, right? So step 1, always define your mission, your vision, and your goal. I hope and pray that you all have a business plan. If you do not, it's okay. You can just do a 1-page business plan that actually has your roadmap of where you are today and where it is that you desire to go. So we first need to get crystal clear about what do you do as a business owner? Like what do you do to generate income? And then how do you do what you do in order to generate some revenue? Excuse me. So be crystal clear about your why. Why do you do what you do as a business owner? Because when you apply for grant funding opportunities, they're going to always ask you, what is your why? Why do you do what it is that you do? So last year, there was $50 billion left in grant funding. So why I do what I do, I'm trying to help people get as much of those funds as possible to get their message out there, because you guys are doing some amazing work out there as business owners. So why not tap into some of these funds that are available? So this is step number one in the process. Step number two is identify your funding needs. So remember the budget, y'all. What do you need funding for? Marketing, advertising, and then earlier we talked about the fact that you're out there, you're working with clients, and you want to be able to service individuals, but they can't afford your services. And so is it possible that we can get grant funding to offset that cost? Are you trying to get an office space? Are you trying to get a building? Like, what do you specifically need grant funding for? And can we all start dreaming bigger and then come down, as opposed to dreaming so small and then begging our way up to the top? Sidebar, as a business owner, can we charge our worth in abundance as opposed to charging small and then begging our way up to the top? So I really want us to I want us to start dreaming again. Like, what does your office building look like if that's what you want, right? Like, what is your company vehicle look like? What does your staff look like? Like, what is this? I want us to start dreaming again, because sometimes we don't dream because we think we can't get access to the money. Remember, we got $2.3 million in grant funding. Two main things, y'all. Somebody's going to win grant funding. Why not you? And in order to win funding, you have to be in it to win it. That's it. That's it. So then step number three is that we've got to start researching and finding the right opportunities. So these are some of the websites that we use in order to be able to get access to some grant funding dollars. So number one, Hello Skip. And so Hello Skip does have a membership, and you can do 14 days for free, but Hello Skip has over 50 grant funding opportunities specifically for women, specifically for entrepreneurs. Hello Alice, again, has grant funding opportunities that are available, grants for creators, for those of you that are in the creative space, your speakers, teachers, coaches, trainers, authors, and then also Be Nimble, another great place. And then I have a monthly grant list that I can share with you all, Grant Watch, and then Candid Foundation as well. So these are just a few of the grant platforms that you can tap into in order to start building your own grant funding list. So your ultimate goal should be, how do I build my own grant funding list? And your own grant funding list is grants that you're going to start applying for. So our secret sauce is, every single Friday, we do a thing called Funding Friday, where every Friday we apply for 3 to 5 different grants. That's how we win grant funding. We don't just apply for one grant and just sit back and relax, right? We do 3 to 5 grants every single week. And then you're saying to yourself, oh my goodness, Miss Renee, 3 to 5 grants, that must take a lot of time. It doesn't, because remember, you have your grant funding application answer key, you have your Google document with all your answers already. So now all you're doing is cutting and pasting and tweaking, cutting and pasting and tweaking, right? And that's how we are able to, again, apply for so many different grant funding opportunities. So the other component, step number 4, is to identify and understand the eligibility requirements before you apply for a grant. This is going to help you to stop wasting time. And so if you're not eligible for the opportunity, then again, we're not going to apply for the grant. So we look at the grant, then we immediately go to the eligibility requirements, we make sure we're eligible, and then we apply for the grant. We look at the grant description, make sure it fits us, then we go to the eligibility requirements to make sure it fits us, and then we apply. Then we apply. And so can I encourage you all to start with the micro grants first? So we're going to do a couple of micro grants today. And these are grants that are under 50,000 because they don't require a lot. They require you to answer the question specifically, but they don't require like you submit a budget form or your past taxes, nothing like that, right? They're a little bit easier to tap into. And then step number 5, which is the most important component, is to craft a compelling grant proposal. And how do you do that? You can literally put in Google, give me a sample of a grant proposal for a business coach that works with young people, teenagers, teaching about entrepreneurship. And do you know that Google will give me a great report, a great proposal, right? And I can also do the same thing in AI tools as well. And so can we add this to our homework assignment that we're going to go ahead and we're going to build out. And again, a lot of this information can come from your business plan, but I would love for you to, again, be clear about your vision, your mission, your goals, and your dreams. And then most important is your story. They are going to ask you on these applications, most of them, not all, they're going to ask you, tell me your story. Okay. Deep breath in, deep breath out. When you tell your story, you have to come from a place of empowerment. Nobody wants to hear the woe is me. Nobody wants to hear that, my business is getting ready to close because I don't have no money. They want you to come from a place of empowerment. So even if that's your situation, can you talk about the solution and how you're going to solve your own problems by getting access to grant funding? They also didn't want to hear that, I was raised in Staten Island, New York, and, I had a cat named Chuckles, and then when I went to college, Chuckles ran away. They don't want to hear that. Like, not that story. Not that story. Not that story. They don't want to hear that story. But we go there, like we tend to go there, and that's not necessarily what they're looking for. And so how do we pull together all this information? These are some of my favorite AI tools. Are any of you checking out DeepSeek, which is a whole nother level from ChatGPT? Oh my goodness. The content on DeepSeek is another level from ChatGPT. And so I encourage you to check out DeepSeek, of course, ChatGPT. Claude is amazing for writing, helping you to kind of stimulate your answers when you're writing grants. And then, of course, Gemini is Google. So when I need to pull together statistics and data, I'm able to do that. So how do we use AI in the grant writing process? Do you know that I can put in ChatGPT? So my chat box, his name is Luther. So I'll say, Luther, I hope y'all gave y'all chat box a name. So I'll say, Luther, can you please give me 10 grant funding opportunities in the Tampa area that are specifically geared towards women entrepreneurs and these grant applications have to have a deadline of December of 2026 or something like that. And do you know that your AI bot will pull together those 10 grants? So you literally can build your own grant writing, your own grant list of grants that are available. And can I also share something else with you? If you're someone that's using ChatGPT or DeepSeek, your AI tools that you're using, they want you to go a little bit deeper. They want you to ask more complex questions so you can get more complex answers. How we use AI in grant writing, we will look at the grant and we take all the questions and we put them into a Word document. and then we answer the questions to the best of our ability. Then we put those answers into ChatGPT to clean them up and make them absolutely perfect. Because now the grant still, as the grant still has your voice. So grantors, they're not mad at you at using ChatGPT to answer the questions. They just want to hear your voice. They want it to sound like you, not an AI bot. And so I want to encourage you, go a little bit deeper with the AI tools that you're using. And I need to do another training with you all and show you how to use AI to generate revenue with your business. Do you know that you can use AI to generate revenue with your business? Yeah. So quickly, a little sidebar real quick. So I did this challenge of generating 100K in 100 days. And I use ChatGPT because my bot has been trained to know who I am, but I still put prompts in there. And I asked my chat box to give me a step-by-step plan on how I could generate 100K in 100 days as a speaker, as a coach, as an author that has assessment tools. So I gave it all the things that I do. And then I said, please be as detailed as possible because I have entrepreneur ADHD, which means that sometimes I'm all over the place, right? Sometimes I'm all over the place. So I needed my chat box to be very specific. And so Luther gave me a step-by-step plan. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell my kids. I didn't tell any of my clients what I was doing, right? And so 4 hours a day. So I told Luther that I have 4 hours a day to commit to this system. And I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. 4 hours a day, I worked the system. 4 hours a day, I worked the system consistently. And then if I did something that did not work, I let Luther know and I asked Luther to give me a solution. Do you guys know that in 89 days, 100K, and in 100 days, $116,000 in revenue? How is that possible? How is that possible? Because you have to trust the AI bot, which most of us don't trust. Most of us are out here listening to all that chatter, and we don't trust the AI bot. Your AI bot has the answer. So why are you out here doing all these different things when your AI bot has the answer? And so I'm going to challenge you all. When you get this recording, do your prompt, and I'm gonna challenge, don't tell anybody, because you don't need any negative Nellies in your ear. Don't tell anybody and do it and watch what happens. You're gonna be shocked. You're gonna be shocked. So that's a little sidebar. Sorry about that, little sidebar. All right, so next step is I would like for us to apply for some grants. Are y'all ready to apply for some grants? So grant number one is going to be the Galaxy grant. So Coach Dunbar, can you go ahead and put the link in the chat so people can get access to it? So the Galaxy grant is a $2,450 grant, and it's specifically for women. And then it's also for minority women. So either or, you be a woman or a minority woman in order to a minority entrepreneur to apply, woman or minority entrepreneur to apply. And so they've been at this for over 8 years. And so we love those grants that are for 8 years. They've been doing for 8 years. And you have until March 31st to apply for the grant. That's number one. And then number two grant that we're going to look at is the Amplified grant. And this is for community leaders. And so this grant is for individual businesses or organizations who are boots on the ground every day trying to make the world a better place, which is all of you. And so they have a $5,000 grant, and they give away this grant winter, summer, spring, and fall. Now, if you apply for the grant now and you don't win, please apply again, right? Because they've given away the grant 4 times a year. Then you see where it says rolling. That means that it's rolling. They continually give away this grant over and over and over and over again. And then grant number 3 is going to be your homework. It's going to be the Honeycomb grant, $10,000 breakthrough grant to support small businesses in achieving your next big milestone. So it kind of goes back to my question that I asked you all earlier. What specifically do you need money for? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? And so it could be that you want to open a new location. Maybe you're launching a food truck. It could be any kind of business. And you have until April, I'm sorry, the applications, they are due by the 11th of April, right? And so this is your homework assignment because they open up on April the 2nd, and that's why it's your homework assignment. And so you see the applications are due on the 2nd, so you have until the 2nd to apply. Now look at the time where it says 11:59 p.m. If you submit your application at midnight, you're not gonna win, right? That's a big disqualifier. And then also, the other part too is our goal is how do we apply for grants as soon as we possibly can and not wait until the last minute. So again, the grant is due by the 2nd, but look at when they're gonna make the announcement of the winner. That's a short turnaround, y'all. That's a quick turnaround of when they're gonna make the announcement of who actually won the grant. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And then I would like for us all to go to the Galaxy grant because we're gonna go ahead and apply for this grant right now. And so how we're going to do the winner of the two winners of the Thrive in 2025 book is that the first two people that apply for the grant and then let me know in the comments that they apply are going to win the book. All right, so let's go through the application, y'all. It is $2,450. It takes 30 seconds to apply. Now, you see that you done it. You see this red asterisk? That means you can't skip on that answer, right? Wherever you see the red asterisk, it's important. So you have your first and last name, then you have your email address, then you have your zip code, and then your ethnicity, right? You click it there. Male, female, click it there. And then I always recommend that try to stay away from please prefer not to say type of answers. Because to me, I personally think that they don't look at the application if you put prefer not to say. Anyway, business status. So are you currently in business or you want to start a business? And then referred by, put Renee Bobb, and then hit enter. Boom. You have just applied for your first grant if you have never applied for a grant before. Yay, y'all. Oh, we just applied for our first grant. Yes, Lori, yes.
So if we've just started and we actually have an LLC, but we haven't, if I haven't gone beyond that, I don't have a client or anything, am I a new person or am I a beginning? Where do I
Yeah, I
fall?
would put, have you started generating revenue with your business?
No.
So because you have I would put, I would like to start a business. So I would do a startup since you haven't really started doing the business, even though you have your LLC, even though it's LLC is not necessary to apply for this grant.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So how did we do? Did we all apply for the opportunity? Yay, it looks like we applied. Excellent. Done, done, done.
Yep.
So now, when you win the funds, can you come back and let me know that you won the funds so we can celebrate together?
Yeah.
So
They only give one. They only give one, right?
right, but they do it every single month.
Every month.
Yes.
So do we keep applying each month?
If you don't win, if you're notified in the first week of April that you did not win, then you keep applying until you win.
Oh, okay.
And that's with most grants as well. Right? And that's the goal, is that we're going to keep applying until we win those particular funds. So that is what's called a micro grant. And then how long did it take you to do that application? Not long at all, right?
2 minutes.
Right. And so we want to start looking for opportunities that are just like that when it comes to applying for grant funding. All right. So let's go to the next opportunity, which is the Amplifier grant. And so this, remember, for me, can you guys see the Amplifier grant on your screen?
Yes.
Okay, so for me, Anything under 50,000, we consider a micro grant because all they are is just an application, right? And so remember, we go to the eligibility, we make sure we read over the eligibility, we learn more about the grants, a $5,000 grant. And so you can go to the frequently asked questions and it gives you all the information. And then we go and we click on apply today. And then you all see the application. But look at the application. So again, the red asterisk is where you have to answer the question. So your organization, your business name, your first and last name, your role in the business, your email, phone number.
Do we put owner?
Yes, owner, founder, yes, CEO, yep. And then your phone number, your website. And so what if you don't have a website? Can I encourage you to go to stand.store and create a website? You know, it's free for, I think, like 20 days. And then after that's like 14 bucks, but it will allow you to at least create a website. Or you can, you know, there's a lot of, and then you can use ChatGPT to pull together the content for a website as well. But if you don't have one, then put none, right? I don't have a website right now. Instagram handle, Facebook handle, Twitter handle, TikTok handle. Do you know why they're asking for your social media now on applications?
They want you to advertise? They want to check you out?
Yeah, they want to make sure that if you say that you're doing this kind of business, that there's at least some evidence on your social media that you do the business. That's one reason. And then the second thing is when you do win the grant, they want you to shout out on your social media that you won the grant. And then remember back in the day how your website was the validation that you're a business owner. Now they also use social media as that validator that you are a business owner. Because you're up there talking about, oh, I just went and did this workshop or whatever you're doing, right? The other thing, Nancy, which is the big thing, is they want to see what type of content are you posting on social media and is it in alignment with their organization? So are you on social media twerking? They want to see, and are you going to be a great representation of that grant? Does that make sense? And it goes
Yeah, so that means I have to
political.
do this Twitter thing and TikTok before I could
Yeah,
even
and
apply.
but if you don't have it, you just put NA that you don't have it at the time,
Oh.
right? Because some of you just may have one platform where you actually, that is your space where you actually, you know, do most of your posting. But
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, a lot of grants want to see your social media because they know that social media is powerful and they want you to shout from the mountaintop that you actually won that grant. A great way to promote what they're doing. And so, do you have an email list? And then they want to know the size of the email list. I want to go kind of want to skip down to some of these more important questions here. Tell us about your project or your organization. What is your mission? We kind of talked about that already. Tell us what you do, what you will do with the money if you won the grant. Be very specific. And is there anything else that you would like us to know? Please always add in more information. Now, the interesting thing about this grant is there's a $15 application fee, so you can decide, do you want to pay the application fee? If not, there are thousands of other grants out there that do not have an application fee. The reason why I wanted to show this to you is because some of these smaller organizations, they use these fees in order to run the grant, host the website, hire people to kind of do the grant review. Like it costs money to run the grant. That's why they have an application fee. And please be mindful, again, you don't have to do this grant if you don't want to, but I just wanted to bring up one and show you one that actually has an application fee. So I have a couple more things and then I'm gonna open it to question and answer. And so we looked at these particular grants, and then your homework assignment is that you're going to do the honeycomb grant, right? That's the next grant that you're going to work on. Any questions that you have about these grants so far? All right. So in closing, next steps. Number one, be clear. Why are you applying for grants? We kind of solved that already. Number two, work on your business plan. Even if it's a one-page business plan, it will keep you focused on your goals, your vision, and your dream. Number three, we already talked about the budget. I sent you a budget tool, so you should have a budget tool that you can do your budget and be very specific about what you need grant funding for. Continue to conduct research. Make sure please don't let this be the last training that you take when it comes to getting access to grant funding. Like, be open to learning more about getting access to grant funding. Be consistent in applying for grants. Track your progress. And then if you win some funding, please come back and let us know so that we can celebrate the fact that you won some funding. So I do have the Grant Funding Academy, and you can scan that QR code, and it's on school. And so it's a private community, $49 a month, where every day I post grant funding opportunities. You get to come to all the training for free, and then you also get access to me and other members that are like-minded when it comes to applying for grant funding and being educated about grant funding as well.
Okay, so I'm a Medicare agent. I have a Legal Shield business. And the business that I'm just starting where I don't have clients yet is AI, teaching AI to beginners. So when I apply, am I applying with businesses that I already have that are existing, or the one that I'm trying to start that I just got an EIN for an LLC?
Nancy, can I give you a virtual hug? There you go. Okay. Can we do the business that's most abundant? And that's going to be the AI training, because there's so many grant funding opportunities that are available right now when it comes to training beginners on artificial intelligence. And you don't even need an EIN, you don't need an LLC. You could eventually get to having that, because you could do it as a sole prop and then get your EIN and your LLC. But because you have it, that's wonderful. But that's where the land is most abundant. So at the end of your presentation, then you show a slide that says, for those of you that need legal protection, here is my legal shield. And so you build it in a part of the presentation. But Nancy, you're gonna see a lot of funding opportunity available for teaching and training people in AI. But each grant is one business per grant. You can't mix them all together, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
But go to where the land is most abundant. And Nancy, can I tell you one other thing?
Yeah.
My other reason for opening up a location in Charlotte is because I got like 12 contracts to teach AI to nonprofits. The land is abundant for everybody. For everybody, the land is, and I'm not even an expert on AI, nor do I need to be, right?
Right.
It's the
right.
basic information. And whenever I'm teaching somebody about AI in person and I show them, it's a game changer. Because it's so new. It's so new.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So thank you, Renee. So I'm in a similar situation to Nancy, although she's further advanced than I am. But my situation is I'm in cardiac rehab, cardiac recovery, and it could also be reversing diabetes, especially early onset diabetes. So, and there's a company I know that has a fabulous program for diabetes. And I was wondering if there's, because I don't think I'm an expert at their level, but if I could work with them in the cardiac recovery from a heart attack or heart attack prevention. Those are my two things.
And then what do you do in that space?
Well, it would be one-on-one coaching, because I haven't gotten beyond that yet.
Yeah. And so health, wellness, there's a lot of grant funding opportunities available. But of course, you know, During the President Obama era, Michelle Obama was really big about diabetes and exercise and health and wellness and working out. And so there's a lot of funding that's available if you are very specific about who the target audience you're working with. And so I just have to wonder, when it comes to diabetes, can you do some, like, you have your program already built out. Can you look for those grant funding opportunities that support individuals like yourself that are out there doing the training?
Okay. Yeah, so for my very specific thing would be the cardiac recovery or
Okay.
prevention.
Yeah.
So can you so that's.
So
is
yes,
also-
it's very similar. So with the program that you have, you identify who are the customers that you're getting in front of, and then what is the problem that you're solving for them, and then look for grant funding that support the solution to that problem.
So would that be coaching, like health
It could
coaching?
be. It could be workshops. It could be seminars. It
Oh,
could be
okay.
going into places that already have people that are dealing with those issues, like the AARP grant. The reason why we won is not that I had access to all these people that were 50 and over. I partnered with 50 Forward. I partnered with churches. I partnered with nonprofits that were already reaching that audience.
Mhm.
And then I was able to say, I have hundreds of people that are this particular demographic that need access. And we were able to get funding to kind of support the program.
Okay. So in some ways, for that, I would almost have my program duplicated and somebody else would be following it or implementing
Yeah,
it?
or you can do the program yourself.
Yeah.
And you bring yourself and your program into that particular audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the way I would get funded for doing it is whatever the grant provided for me.
Yeah,
So-
like your time, and if you have workbooks, if you have assessment tools, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, thank you
Good
very much.
question.
Thanks, Renee.
I have a passion for the elderly, a respite care. People may come from the hospital and their parents or whoever the caregiver, they say, oh, they're so overwhelmed, and they could come and stay by me maybe for 2 or 3 weeks. They want to go on a vacation and they want somebody to really take care of their mom.
Yep.
They could come by in my, and that is a goal or something Mr. Dunbar know. And he just say, why don't you start it, Stephanie? And by you listening to you about the grant, it just opened up my avenue. It's like, I have to start doing this thing, because I will
Yeah.
pass and I will see buildings and I was like, oh my God, this is a perfect place for my respite care.
And there's such a need because like they may be getting older. I'm not getting older, but people are getting older.
I'm not getting older. I'm 20
And
years.
so you have a population that's getting older, and some of these individuals don't even have anybody to care for them. And
Right.
did you know that if you decide to take in a military veteran, that the VA will pay you every day that you're working with that person?
Mhm.
And if they assign you as their caretaker, you can get over $3,000 a month to take care of that person. So there's such a big need out there to be able to support. And then you have families that are dealing with older parents. And like you said, they don't have the time and the energy to do the work and they need some help. That would be a great business to launch. Find you a building and get it going. Even if you have to start out with just a 2 bedroom, something like that. But you should really think about creating something.
So you get funding for that also?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of funding out there for that. Yep. Any other questions? Well, yes, Lauren?
How about homelessness then? That's something, like I thought once I get rich, I want to do something for the homeless people because it's prevalent and it's a
Yeah.
sad situation.
So do you know that Home Depot has a grant right now for those that want to build, even if it's a tiny house community or a homeless shelter for those that are in need? There's such a big need in the marketplace. You're going to start seeing more and more grant funding opportunities available to support those that are homeless. And so you get clear about the demographic of who you want to service. Is it just families? Is it just men or is it just women? But there's a lot of funding out there specifically because we definitely have a homelessness issue in America right now.
Yeah, we sure do. So I don't have to get rich and famous before I can help.
No, do it now. So let me give you an example. I talked earlier about Safe Haven Family Shelter. And so I won the Tennessee Titan Volunteer of the Year Award for the work that I do in the Nashville community in feeding homeless individuals. So somebody was watching me and they nominated me for the award. Do you know that the Tennessee Titans gave me a check for $10,000? And so I could use that money, Gwendolyn, but what I did was I gave it to Safe Haven Family Shelter and they built a computer lab. So now I have some place to teach people how to fish for themselves.
Wow, that's wonderful.
So the land is so abundant. So Coach, I'm Dunbar, I'm gonna turn it back over to you. Thank you all. I appreciate you. And you have my contact information if you have any questions. And the 2 people that won the books, I'll get your address so I can send it to you. But I hope you found this information helpful and do your homework.